Today I'm going to show you a different painting using our new Butterfly Forest paints. So you can see that on my 140 pound cold press Stonehenge aqua paper I've got taped off. It's got kind of columnar grids going on, and I'm just getting my paints ready. So in today's painting I am really inspired by these new greens that we've made up, and they're just a really cool blend, and they have some that are really granulating and one's a bit more smoother, and I'll show you that as we go. But I like this in my paints because sometimes your paints will just do it for you. So the first paint that I'm adding to is this lovely deep dark forest paint, and the next one is blue spruce green, and then the third one is our field green, and I've added scorched earth to all of them. The reason why I added scorched earth to all of them is because I want them to have some something that ties them all together, and so I'm making sure that they're still all different greens, but yeah, adding that scorched earth in will tie it in together nicely. And the next thing we do is we wet our first column. So I'm going to work from like light to medium to dark. So in this far column on my right hand side that I just wet, I am going to put in my blue, or sorry, that's the dark forest with the scorched earth, and I'm going to let it run. Now here's a big difference between some of the paints out there. Some are honey based, and I find that honey doesn't like fly like this. It doesn't drift, and the colors don't necessarily explode. I like to be a little bit out of control here, and this also comes down to how wet your paper is, but a good base, a good binder should allow your paints to flow like this so that they can blend and blow out, and that's what I kind of really enjoy about our paints, and certainly a lot of effort went into making sure that they did that. So that is good for the first column. I'm going to work towards the second column and wet it, and this will be the green. That green there that I'm going to be using next is blue spruce or spruce green with the scorched earth. Gonna just give it a little mix in my tray here, put it all together again, and I just run it up the base, and I've got my board tilted so that the paint runs. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. So as these dry, you're really gonna see some of the magic happen. If you have too much water on the top, dab it up with a super absorbent cloth or a piece of paper towel. I really like those absorbent cloths because you can just toss them in the wash, and they're good to go again. And yeah, it's kind of critical now if, you know, toilet paper or paper towel becomes harder to get. So our first last column that we're painting here is going to be the lightest green, and this will be our field green, which is a lot smoother. Field green with the scorched earth. It still has some flecks in it, and that's because of the scorched earth that I'm added in. But yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. So it's too yellow. This part's too yellow. Put a little too scorched earth in there, so I'm gonna put some green in there, and that will work. So as you can see, we've got yellow that ties in all of these green shade colors, and it's gonna make them very cohesive. So I let this one run as well, and wipe off the excess water. You can start to see the granulating happen in the first two. It's really going to show up when it dries, and like all watercolors, these will dry just a little bit lighter. Also, because of the massive pigment loads and the zero filler in them, you can expect that they won't necessarily dry as light as some of the other paints that you might know of. We've got our dried surface here. I did take it away and blow dry it, so you can see the granulation. You can see the colors really kind of showing up in here. Blue spruce green and this dark forest green, and the other green here is super nice because they really do the job for you when you're doing forests. So be careful taking your tape off here, and I'm going to speed up the tape so that we can get this done. You don't have to watch me remove tape, but just know that, you know, watercolor paper can be very delicate. So when you tape stuff, make sure you either put your tape on your lap to like put some lint on it so it's not going to rip your paper up, or very carefully remove it by keeping it down low towards the paper and slowly removing it away from the painting if you can. If you do happen to rip your paper, there's a few things that you can do to fix that. One, if it's on an edge like the top bit there, then you can frame to hide it, or you can try to pick it off a little bit so that it doesn't show so much. If you happen to get it right in the middle of your painting, then consider painting over top of that and using that kind of rough surface as a texture feature. I just love the cohesion of these colors. They're just so earthy, and there's my little bit there fixed up. Next thing I want to do is accentuate my blocks, if you will, or columns of green with kind of like some paint drawing, and I'm getting coal black. So coal black is ivory black, and it's really deep and rich, and really enjoy it. So mix it up with a larger brush, but then for the next bit what you want to use is a rigger brush, and they are a really interesting brush because they have like this really long thin layer or hair to the end, and that makes it so that they make you be organic. So you can't get perfect with this, and that's great because when you're drawing organic shapes, you know, imperfection's a little bit better. If you're not comfortable just painting it this right on, you can certainly use a pencil and make yourself some light lines, give yourself some guides, or, you know, take another scrap piece of paper and have it beside you and, you know, draw out some wispy little organic shapes. They can be all kinds of different leaves, and then, yeah, go to town. I'm just going to put some leaves on this one, and I'll put some veins in, and then we'll discuss sort of the next sprigs that are going to come close to this. So another thing to do is to have some thick lines and some thin lines. This is kind of really aesthetically pleasing. We don't want to have all of our lines the same width. It's just more interesting. Even the odd broken line is really fun. So now you see me trying to decide where I'm going to start next, and I was thinking don't come right off into the middle. Or I'm coming close to the middle, but this one's going to start kind of weaving in behind this other twiggy leaf plant, and I want it to kind of come up a little bit higher. Not, you know, it should be different than its the other counterpart on here. And then I'm just adding in some leaves. You'll see that I didn't do any guides for my leaves this time. I'm just going ahead and painting them in, and because I'm gonna say that this twig is behind my first twig, then and that's what I will be doing for a second twig tube. It's just simply easier, and just thinking about where that might lie in behind, and then giving myself one right up over here. And you'll see I did a light line there this time and a poke up top there, because it's kind of funny when you end something right off on another a bit of the painting. So this time I'm gonna not come from the base, but come from the little bit right off to the side and crank it up. And this twig we're gonna have a little bit lower than the other two, just because it looks nice. And in art you will know that you should have things in sort of odd numbers. There's a aesthetic composition to that. So try to think in odd numbers when you're putting things like trees in or rocks. And then of course that can come down to the size of them. 3 large, you know, 1 small, or vice versa. So it's something to play with, something to try, and definitely, you know, play around with some thumbnail sketches if you're not confident and just going for it. And, you know, I do that a lot. I have a sketchbook with lots of thumbnail sketches in it, and they're horrific, but they help me to paint and decide where I'm going to place my objects so that they look the best that they can. Okay, the last little bit is where we're going to sign, and for me it's going to be in that last block that I didn't put any starters to any twigs. Hope you enjoyed this great little painting with our new butterfly forest paints. Have a great day.